Okay.
Okay. So let's just continue on with let's just start off again with who are you and how did you become involved in a narcissistic relationship?
Okay, so my name is Lolita. I am 53 years old. I have a 15-year-old child. I have been married or should I say, I've been divorced for 1.5 years officially,
Okay.
but was in a narcissistic marriage for 25 years.
Okay.
21 years I was married, and in total of being with this person was 25 years.
Okay.
So I was completely unawares of such a term to start with.
Mhm.
And it was only 3 years ago when I was trying to, label
Mm.
what it was I was going through, and
Yeah.
I couldn't put words into it exactly because it was so covert.
Yeah.
Um, Narcissistic abuse, or at least the covert narcissism that I was going through, which I eventually was able to narrow down to covert narcissism with a sociopathic kind of tendency,
Okay.
came through much researching and learning, and then eventually connecting the dots and
Yeah.
realizing the patterns and the scenarios. I was ticking every single box. It wasn't just a random thing for me to be able to come
Mhm.
to such an awakening, because it's a terrifying thing to even imagine that such a thing
Yeah.
existed until
Yeah.
such time, that I didn't even know I was being abused.
So you mentioned the boxes that was ticked. What can maybe you list a few of these boxes that people maybe can look at when it comes to what is it that they can look out for?
Okay. So narcissism, is at the moment as well, it is a word that is being used, it's just flying everywhere.
Mhm.
And so just to be very clear, we are not here to diagnose
Yeah.
the condition, and there's varying levels of narcissism.
Okay.
And we all have narcissistic tendencies. Our
Mm.
children do, which just really means, the normal narcissism is that we tend to be a little bit all selfish at some point or another,
Yeah.
and we have our flaws and our mistakes. But when it comes to true narcissism in the disorderly, pathological way, we're looking at somebody that, first of all, that lacks compassion,
Mhm.
um, and then also empathy. But
Okay.
I've, and empathy is a very tricky one, because I've
Okay.
learned that a narcissist can be very empathetic, but it's what they call cognitive empathy, which is quite deadly, in that they know how to bait you and empathize with you, and they try to extract information from you to
Mhm.
act like they are feeling sorry for you, but really it's there to use as a weapon at a later
Okay.
time.
Uh huh.
So what so it's one of the things is lack of compassion.
Okay.
um they have no real ability to be empathetic, other than that cognitive empathy that I spoke about, which is really just to get information from you to use it at a later point. um they 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 unfortunately objectify people, so they are in relationships purely as a means to an end to meet their
Okay.
needs.
Okay.
um, they lack a sense of identity, which means they will mirror you, especially in the beginning. You
Mhm.
think you found a soulmate, and
Okay.
it's almost because it's like an identity theft. They mirror
Mm.
you, so you think you
Okay.
found a soulmate. You know,
Mm.
they tend to love bomb you in the beginning. In other words, they shower you with much,
Mm.
adoration. They do all the
Mm.
right things. The relationship can often seem to be too good to be true. You just seem to
Okay.
connect so well. And
Okay.
they really go out of their way to, to gain your confidence by mirroring certain attributes of yourself, to the point that eventually you feel safe with them, only to sooner than later their personalities change for no reason, and then you see the abuse, a lot of shaming, a lot of undermining, a lot of fault finding. But it depends, as I said to you, the different narcissism. You get covert narcissism, you get overt narcissism, and then also the varying degrees. My specific experience with the narcissist relationship was covert. In other words, they weren't out there. They weren't brash. They almost subtle, and it's little things that they do to break down your personality, undermine your confidence. They smear you find, and isolate you, but they do it so subtly that your life begins to wear down slowly, until you lose identity, because you're always looking to fix it. In my case, eventually I found out I got cheating, lying, lots of deceiving, and very good in covering it up. Like I said, only 25 years later, because there's such deceit. It's so strategic in how they do it. They are the type of people that they cannot really connect with people. They rather form attachments. So almost like parasitic. It's what they can get from people.
Yeah. I was thinking about that the whole time. It's like something that sits on it. You feed it, and they kind of benefit from it, but they have no real attachment. Once you are not a benefit anymore, they move to the next victim almost.
Exactly. And unfortunately, that type of relationship really goes under the radar, because it's almost become a norm. And unfortunately, women who are tending to be accommodating and tend to rather look at the best in people, and who rather would give people the benefit of the doubt, tend to be the people that are targets for narcissists. They want women that will accommodate them, that will look for good in them, that will excuse their behavior, because you always try to reason things away. And in my case, my background, my family was also quite dysfunctional. So you've got all of that feeding into the choices we make because of the poor references and our own inadequacies in how to see and discern what should be and shouldn't be unacceptable in relationships, and what is healthy and what is not.
I was thinking that when you were talking, I think why this goes under the radar is because we come from a dysfunctional family, or I would think a lot of women has been through bad relationships, so they just label this as another bad relationship until it's too late, and then they don't know what has happened, and then when they're depressed and all of this, you kind of attach it to different things and not as a narcissistic relationship.
Well, exactly. I think if you don't know what you're looking for, you'll go on about saying, oh, he's disrespectful, he doesn't meet my needs, he doesn't help, or he's always running me down, or and it's not like always running down. Again, there's so many. At the end of the day, they're similar in they are there to use people. And then they'll abandon you. They can just abandon you, and they can just cut you off just like that from one moment to the next. And they'll do it with your children, without any kind of remorse. They'll always defend their mistakes. They'll either project it on you, or say it's your fault. Never take accountability. You cannot rationalize with a narcissistic. A normal human relationship has ups and downs, but somebody who tends to be healthier will want to try to confront problems, try to talk it out, and try to meet each other's needs, because that's what rational adult relationships do, whether it's business, friends, family. But a narcissistic relationship is about, they need to win at your expense all the time. There's no, your needs are important. Your needs will be compromised. You'll always find the goalpost is always put further and further and further. You find you can never be good enough or so, and unfortunately this type of relationships are, I've always said, and I think when you're in with a narcissist, at some point or other, you're going to eventually, it becomes physical eventually as well. And then you get financial abuse, which we were, was a lot of extortion. Like I said, a lot of lying, deceiving. You'll find you in a constant confusion when you're with these type of people. The dots don't connect. You start to doubt yourself. You can never make sense from one moment to the next. Their moods, they normally live double lives. And like I said, it's definitely a precursor eventually for physical abuse, which mine eventually, it wasn't the predominant, but there was, two scenarios. But then you get others that are a lot of physical abuse and sexual abuse.
How would you be able to differentiate between if this is serious and you need to go how far, or this, like I said, is just a normal relationship, and like this is a man, maybe you've been in a difficult relationship, and maybe your previous boyfriend also didn't really try as hard as he could to fix the relationship, and now you may be in a relationship with a narcissist. How would you really differentiate between, this is just a normal relationship and I need to get out now?
Well, I think anything that undermines you as a person, if you find that you're not being validated, if you find you're losing your identity, if you find that your feelings and your needs are being dismissed or overlooked. Do we have that in normal relationships? Yes. But if there's a pattern, and that there isn't a verbalization, an acknowledgement, an accountability via verbal, is really just the surface. It has to be backed up with an action. And if you feel there's a lot of chaos, constant division, constant, altering your reality, that's another thing they do, which is a word called gaslighting. In other words, you remember something this way, and they'll tell you no, or they'll tell you, or you're being too sensitive. That's gaslighting. If your feelings are not being validated, if you can come to your partner and say to them, listen, you're hurting me. I really feel, going forward, I'd really appreciate it if you wouldn't, speak like that to me, because it really hurts me. In a normal, rational, emotionally mature relationship, there's always room for growth. I'm not saying we're on a journey, but if your partner can say, you know what, I hear you, I see you, I'm sorry, I know I was whatever, upset, my day, blah, 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 and then he makes changes or she makes changes. And it's not to say we're going to do it perfectly, but that there's an accountability that to change, to verbalize, and then to put it into action, and that there must be a pattern of change, because people can also just change to manipulate you. So it becomes more not a transformation, but a modification, because for whatever reason. And that's the thing. And I think, it's the fact that we tend to give ourselves away because we are very quick to just accept the apologies. Oh, but he says he loves me. Oh, and then we get trauma bonded because they treat you nicely and then they treat you badly. and you miss that time that they've treated you so nicely, which is the love bombing. But in the next minute, or whether it's a week later, they're really being abusive, just the things they say, and you can feel it doesn't sit right. You're not being, you feel less than, and eventually you start losing your sense of self, and you're wanting to please them so much that you lose your own identity trying to, meet their needs, whatever it is, whether it's making sure the house is always, if you feel you have to walk on eggshells, that is not healthy, because it does tear into your spirit. It tears into your person. It makes you feel that, you cannot just be, that you cannot be just a normal, flawed human being. A healthy relationship is where you have the balance, where your weaknesses maybe somebody else's strengths, and their strengths can be their weakness. So you tend to try to balance each other out. So that is the difference. If you feel you're losing yourself, you're turning on yourself. I have to be honest, eventually I started to hurt myself because I wasn't being heard, and you feel like you want to die. You're not being heard, then you think you're going crazy. Maybe I'm too demanding. That's another thing they tell you. If ever you bring a concern, they'll say, oh, you're just being sensitive. That's and then from nagging, you first ask them, this is a problem. Then if you address it again, they call you nagging. And then if you get upset about it, then it's because you're sensitive. So those are little signs. That's not necessarily narcissism, but it's that pattern. You see that constantly through your relationship.
So what it seems like is like it's where a normal relationship has its ups and downs, but over a period of time, like a narcissistic relationship is like the periods are so quick together that you almost can't distinguish between it. And it's like a constant build up at a breakdown of your spirit so that they can have control over you. So when you're down, I pick you up so that you can feel loved and needed and all of these things. And once you have that, they break you down again because they need to build you up again for the next almost session where they need to get more grip on you.
Feed you again, because apparently they lack a sense of connection. So they need what you have to offer them in order to identify, because, and that's the other thing, they move on to relationships one after another. That's another thing. If somebody can just go in, whether it's cheating, whether it's moving on from one relationship to the next, it's a healthier type of person needs time to heal. And not move on, because that means you're not dealing with stuff. It's just not normal. We understand there's pain, and we want to, we want to be with somebody. Often that's what we do. But that, perpetrates the pattern of other us getting involved again with another narcissistic type relationship. Or with the narcissist himself, who's just looking for the next supply to boost his ego, and not facing what he's actually doing, but rather moving on to another unsuspecting potential supply who can empathize with him and say, oh, Shane, you're the victim. And then, and this is how it carries on. And unfortunately, they do that to the children as well. That's the other common vein. That line doesn't stop with the spouse. It spills on to how they treat the children as well. The children are used as pawns.
Is it to get to you as the mom, or is it just, again, to feed themselves?
Sorry, say that again.
If they use the children, is it for to get to the spouse, to get more grip on her, or is it just for themselves or to feed themselves again?
Well, it's a multiple thing, because it's like parasitic. Firstly, you'll find narcissists will definitely try to hurt the spouse via the children. We know that. But they also need their children as pawn in order to keep up an appearance, to use it for their next supply, because women are whenever they see a man saying how much they love their children and look, I'm doing this for my child, and they got the photographs up, immediately it softens a woman. I mean, that's very strategic. Or in my case, that was part of it, but it was also to keep up the appearances for the family and friends, that he's a good dad and he loves his dad, and that and that she loves her dad, and that what happened to me has got nothing to do with the child, which is not true, because whatever you do to the wife, you do to the child, or vice versa. The same with, not to say we don't have narcissistic women, we have a lot. It is predominantly men. With the way the world is turning, women are becoming more narcissistic because of the culture, and the dynamics of relationship is just really bad. And then it's really to portray a certain image. So often children are a good thing, used for the purposes to keep up appearances, very critical, and yes, very much to hurt the spouse.
Yeah, and I can also see how that can work, because now if I'm a single woman and I'm looking for a guy, I would look to a guy that is very hands-on with the children and love and protect, and the pictures on Facebook shows that he's there and committed. Because now to me it will show, okay, so when I am in a relationship with him, he will do the same to me, until I know the whole story, obviously. So
exactly. So it's a facade. It's part of what their performances. They use masks. Remember, they don't have their own identity. And I in the beginning, that's the other thing. In the beginning, I knew there was something wrong. I couldn't pinpoint it. And then you start saying, oh, maybe I'm just fussy, I'm difficult, and and then you start to compromise, and you start to overlook, and you can feel those red flags are there for a reason. You sometimes have to override your feeling. That's the problem. And go with what you see and what you know. You may not be able to explain it, but if an uneasiness, you need to explore what is it and why. Because I try to not also, that's another thing. It's just a therapy to heal from them is to objectify them and not say my. So it's difficult. So you just say the ex.
Yeah.
Is to remember that they copy other people, they mirror other people, to connect with other people, because they really do not have. I always used to wonder why he was such an impersonator almost. He never almost had his own personality, and it became a joke, or, I just thought, he was a socialite because he's so charming. He was a top end businessman, high position, earned big salary, but it was all a facade, because today he's got nothing. But he still maintains the facade. And it had to come with, he needed to be in a family unit to keep up the appearance that he was this big businessman with a lovely picket fence family with a wife and a child, the cars, the house, but yet he was living a terrible, terrible double life.
Okay. Yeah, it makes more sense now that we're delving more into it, because now people can also start seeing, with a two partner, you kind of see the good and the bad of it. But now that you're talking, a few relationships are popping up in my head. So I'm like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. So it all starts with how they dress and how they project themselves. And so when you meet them the first time, they look very all put together until you find out afterwards what is actually happening. But do you find that sometimes the persona also travels into families, where they will become so bonded with the families and almost intertwined with the families, again, to keep up that persona of I'm good, I'm part of the family, so that when they almost say, for instance, I'm the partner, so I stay close to the family, almost to say, people the devil, you know. So I stay close, so I can keep my hand on the situation, and also keep her away from the family.
So you've hit the nail on the head, because that was what he did with me. It was incredible manipulation and deceit, whether it was with his family, and unfortunately his family were enablers and they were supporters of his abuse, but again, covertly, always keeping me at arm's length. I could never understand why. But at the same time, he was trying to also get the good graces of my family. And, you know, because they are brilliant performers. They people that attract people. People are drawn to them because they're charming, and they dress well. You know, again, it depends. In my case, it's typical though. They like to keep up appearances, which normally comes with dress well, saying the right thing. But that mask eventually starts to fall away, because my family saw it very quickly, but he would always pull back and I would defend, you know. And again, he did it very covertly. He wasn't one of those that are loud and out there, you know, always controlled, until he was pushed in a corner. Then it's deadly. Then the devil comes out, because the more they're exposed, the more your abuse is intensified. So I had to also learn that the hard way.
Okay.
So it's very dangerous as well, because then when they're exposed, whether even slight, they go into hyper functioning. And the annihilation and the abuse just goes to another level that I couldn't imagine.
So is that where they almost become a bit more physical towards the spouse, because you are now not protecting me as the partner?
Yes, 100%. It was that, and I wasn't standing down. I was pushing back. I was questioning. I was exposing him, and that he had to rush into damage control, and then all boundaries. There's no more boundaries for them. He will punish. Then they go out to hurt you, whichever way possible. You know, not unlike before, they were doing it slowly, breaking you through the years, making you lose yourself completely, so you will become a nothing, so that they were able to discard you, suck the hell out of you, and then, excuse the expression, suck the hell out of you, but and then leave you, and then say, well, this is why I've left her. So it would justify his bad behavior, and their propensity to provoke you to react because of the years and years and years of abuse, but then very cleverly say, well, this is why I'm behaving badly, because of look at her reactions. But all the while they've been provoking it. And if you don't know what you're dealing with, you're going to react, because you're reacting out of pain, out of hurt, confusion. You know something's wrong, but you cannot put your emotions into words often. And if you tell people, they'll say, oh, you know what, that's men, or this is, they'll minimize it, unless there's no physical abuse.
You almost have nothing as a defense.
There's no tangible proof. You know, we humans, we need to see, unfortunately. It's like they say, if the victims of narcissistic abuse could wear their wounds, the way somebody, a pastor explained it actually to me, it's like you are in a terrible car accident, and you rush to the hospital and your whole body's mangled, and only when people see that do they then take you serious. And that's what narcissistic abuse is.
But when it's still very subtle, it's like there is a lot of internal bleeding, but people is not seeing it, so they don't take it seriously, because they don't see the blood.
They don't see the blood, I would like to advocate, and I suppose, and this is what we're doing here, is to try to help people to see the signs so that it doesn't get to that level, that we can recognize it sooner, know how to recognize it first of all.
Yeah.
Build your confidence up to listen to yourself. We've all been given an innate voice that we more than often tend to push it down and we excuse it. And we need to go back to basics and learn to listen to that voice and at least explore it. Know what to recognize, okay, and then to act on it and learn how to separate our emotions from what they're actually showing us. And that's another thing. What they show you, believe them. If you're seeing things, believe it. We have a tendency to explain it away, to excuse it.
Yeah, because we want to make it work.
Exactly, and it's natural because it's very difficult. Nobody goes into a relationship thinking, well, I'm going to leave them one day. We don't.
How I would assume it would be very difficult for a woman or to get, say for instance, you have a friend that they're in this kind of relationship, to get them away from a person like this while the emotion and everything is entangled with this person, and they've been set up in a way where they almost become the advocate for the person. So how do you remove the two from each other so that she can come out? Because like you said, if you poke the bear too much, you're going to get hurt, and you don't want to get it to that stage, but you want to subtly remove them. How do you think would that be possible?
It is very difficult because narcissistic abuse is so mental and emotional, psychological, that you are left in a fog, terrible, terrible fog. And you lose your sense of identity so much that it's very difficult for them to see. They can feel it, so I think the best you can do for them in the beginning is to always be there for them. And it's very difficult to tell them, you're going through this and that, because they're going to tend to defend. Because if you're in a vulnerable position, and we have to look at the bigger picture. Why is she staying? It's not something you can just get out. People, it's finances, it's children, you've got homes. It's complex. So it's very, very difficult. I stayed for 25 years. That is crazy. And there's lots of women who do that like I do. But that's super crazy. But there were so many extenuating circumstances, and also part of my belief system that I didn't want to break up my family. It was going to be bad for my child. You feel a sense of responsibility. You're breaking family. And then a pastor told me, you are doing more harm to your daughter by staying than going, for example. That's one aspect, because you are showing her that even though you're abused, you stay. What new generation are you teaching and perpetrating? You need to show your daughter that love does not equal abuse. And you are showing her that it's okay for a man to abuse you. Stay. That love is loyalty to abuse. So lots of dynamics. And then there was the finance. I wasn't working. So the best we can do is be there for them, and that they must be heard, and not to judge them. And for people to come alongside them for as long as they need to, and make them aware and let them connect the dots, because you know what, they can be made aware, but they won't get out. Something has to, your fear of staying has to be bigger than your fear of leaving. I think that's what's going to make or break. But it has to come to knowledge. They have to know, this and this. It has to connect the dots so that eventually you can separate them. In other words, you are not in love with somebody that's even a person. You're in love with a lie. This person was an illusion. Everything they are, you never knew them. They were putting a mask, and now they're real self. So it's education and being them, propping them up, making them aware, and then when they're ready to do the move, there to be supportive of them.
Yeah.
Help them connect those dots.
Yeah. So the only thing we can really do is just be and listen, I guess, so that you become that safety net once they decide it's enough. It's time to leave.
Yeah, I think that once they start equipping themselves, once they can start labeling and putting into words what they're going through, and they can connect that in their mind and separate themselves, that this person doesn't love you. You were married to an illusion, and they did this to you and they did that to you. Why do you want to stay? Would you stay with a friend who does that? So if we can constantly reason with them and connect for them, because by default our bruised emotional, psychological, mental state will always rise up because we're broken now. We just need to strengthen them enough for them to realize on their own, I got to get out. I will be okay as long as I find myself again, because you get lost in a relationship like that. You become dependent on this evil, it's quite egregious. It's a heinous abuse, because and then it's something that we need to deal with, and something we need to get out sooner than later, and hopefully rather recognize it and then stop it before we even get too deep into the relationship.
You are out now, as we're starting to end off. What has that 25 years done to you as a woman?
I think for me, I have to say that it's taken away the best years of my life. It's my whole life revolved around them, so I lost myself completely. So I think and to be in love with somebody that never existed, it was a phantom, and to be deceived. So you move on with your life, and then at 53, having been a stay-at-home mom, not having sustainability financially, having lived in a really beautiful home, I'm going to be very honest for the sake of your audience. I've come from an income style lifestyle. I now live in stables because I lost everything. So I've had to make shift stables where I share a bedroom with my daughter. I'm trying to, get back into the job market. I'm older, so it's more difficult. And but I'm finding I'm connecting with myself again. It is very hard, and I can only say that I wish I had known sooner. But the deception was so great. There was so much deception. I couldn't have known, even though I knew that I shouldn't even have married him. Had I listened to myself, I remember when I walked down the aisle, I have pictures of myself with my hand over my mouth because I could not get my vows out, because I knew I was making a mistake, but I couldn't pinpoint what it was, because maybe it's just me being difficult. So my appeal to the woman out there is, you have to have a peace, and you have to have, you must listen to yourself. Don't ever, ignore it. At least explore why there's no peace, or there's something niggly, and definitely equip yourself with knowledge of this disorder, because it's a silent disease, and it is destroying women, men too, and the worst is our next generation. I mean, we need to break this. It's an evil thing.
It really is it's like those vines that tangle around the plants, and
yes, beautiful.
At first it looks very pretty because it's all the patterns that it's making through the plant, but in actual fact it's just killing the plant slowly but surely, and you only see that once the plant is dead, then you see that. So for me, what I've learned through this is a lot of empowerment for women, because it would seem that the moment we we get into that space, as women, we like to mend things, right?
Yes.
We almost we set
Yes.
up that way to mend things. Um, but because of also our backgrounds and our traumas and stuff that's happening, these kind of cycles is rather harder to get rid of. And so it's a bit more of empowerment for women to stand up and find themselves again. Um, because I think also a lot of times, if we do not know ourselves, you have that tingle, yes. But if I have been in an abusive relationship and I went on to an abusive relationship, it would start to seem as a normal, and I would never get out.
100%.
Yeah, I would never really get out of there, because to me now I'm so numb already of pain. What is the ultimate move? Yeah.
Absolutely. You've nailed that. You've been exposed to so much abuse that you've now lost your sense of, of knowing, because, you've now become, and there's another way of expressing it, you live in an unconscious state. So it's always referring to the past and what you're feeling in the past. And the idea is to learn to be present. It can happen quite quickly because it's just a natural thing, that how we were born with DNA is just to know, because we're spiritual beings, we're not just physical. So it's to teach women as well, is to be present. And because of so much noise and chaos that you've been, and like you said, abuse is like it's toxic. It's a spirit. It definitely is. And it brings chaos and confusion, and you can't think. You don't know better. You become numb. So yes, I agree with you. If we can just help to make those women aware that we need to also learn to be present, with ourselves, because that voice will come. You need to be in a space to face, and to also, that's the other thing I've had to do, because there's no way you're going to heal, is that you've got to go through the pain, and it's damn pain. And not to distract yourself, but to feel it and go through it. And then every time, and how you do that. So yes, it's a hell of a process. In re-educating, unlearning and relearning, and unlearning and relearning and rewiring.
Just like last night, we had a woman on that she went from a single mom to a married mom, and the key thing about everything, why she stayed for a long time, also knowing that she needed to leave, was due to guilt.
Guilt.
Guilt? Yeah. Would you say that with you going through this for 25 years, do you think there's a lot of guilt attached, especially when it comes to your kids or your child?
When you say she stayed because of guilt, why? From the point of view, from what perspective?
So, because we discussed the single mom's part of view, and she mentioned that she was in a relationship, but there was a lot of guilt for staying, that she knew she needed to leave. So in a sense, she was in a relationship, but almost functioning as a single mom, because everything she had to do a lot. By herself, basically. And there was also a point where she knew she needed to leave, but she almost stayed for 6 years because of this thing called guilt, and because of this procedure that was implanted in us as women, that you needed to finish school, you needed to go to high school, then you need to maybe take a break a little bit, then get married, and then have children. With her, she had children, then got with the partner. So because she didn't do the cycle correctly, there was a lot of guilt attached, which caused another second. It eventually turned into another baby, which made her stay a little bit more, knowing that she shouldn't be there. So my question to you is, with all this going on, and you like saying on your wedding day, you knew that you had to leave, is there a sense of guilt with you as well when it comes to maybe how this could affect maybe your daughter or the children?
Yeah, I think, there's always the guilt, because in hindsight, it's so much easier in hindsight, And that's just history. We can choose to learn from hindsight, and then go forward teaching our daughters, because this is what I'm busy with my daughter, and she knows I'm guilt ridden, but she understands that the guilt is something, it's just natural for us. I think it is a waste of time because we can't change it. I think we need to, reshift the focus and rather use that as an opportunity to make admissions and of guilt where we were accountable. Like you said, I should have at that point said no. I didn't care that I had already spent the money and the guests were there. Again, the guilt, God, but I've already invited the guests. And then after that, even years into my marriage and blah, blah, blah. So, I think it should just be used as a learning curve, that rather than guilt, let's try become more aware and then listen to our inner voices and weigh up some of the people that speak into our lives. Often it's because they really care, and just to listen what they're saying, and if it's lining up with what is not right, and then the problem is the fear of the unknown. Like the guilt was probably also attached to fear. It's going to happen if I leave and I got kids, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we'll end up leaving anyway, except we make it later and it makes it difficult. So hopefully that kind of can be a lesson. But we know as humans, we find it difficult to learn from other people's stories.
Yeah.
We definitely don't learn from history. You can see the world. And we all of a sudden become experts because we've got hindsight. But, our tendency is always to move forward in that same pattern. So the idea is, so let's equip ourselves. Let's trust ourselves more, in that at least question, why am I feeling this? What is this? And maybe speak to a few trusted people that are going to be able to speak into your life because they've got your heart, because a lot of people just want Skinner. And they just want,
we know
motives
them.
So often family's not the best people to speak to, So yes, I think there's always going to be as I'm sure the people who are even abused physically have a sense of guilt that what did they do to perpetrate it? My own guilt. And people will accuse you by saying, but you should have known, you should have got out. And then that, it's pointless because it doesn't help.
Yeah. So as the friend, now that we also learn is, if you are a friend of someone that is in this kind of relationship, choose your words wisely, because you could also be a huge factor of why that woman is still staying, because you're not, there's almost no, you leave no space for hope in a way, for her to come out of that situation. And I think what most abuse does is it there's a tendency of doing this thing to you where it's like you at the end of the day judge, but if I made this decision, what is to say that when I make this next decision, it's going to be the right one? Because this decision I made got me into this. See, that is where also the I think the huge step comes with, that was a mistake. Now let's move on. It doesn't alter all of my decisions. It was that mistake that I made then.
Yeah, and it's just one step at a time, and it's through taking that step that you start to learn that the decisions you make, whether they'll be good ones or not, because unless you take them and then you see your pattern, you're going to see, your learning ability to know how to discern which is good and which is not. It's not always going to be right, but that's what life is. I would rather have done that, small steps, than 25 years later being stuck in this absolutely it was like, you know, I was waking up from a horror movie that I couldn't get out of. It was a prison, you know, hoping it's going to get better, but knowing all the signs. But you know, and then of course there's the religious aspect. Oh, you got to have faith and blah 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 blah, and you know, it's and that doesn't help either, because we want to do what's right, but we're not listening to the right voices, because we are emotional, making emotional choices. That's why it's critical to have the right people around you to give you the space, not to tell you what to do, but so that you can encounter them, and then it's got to feel right, and then they can feel the difference between, I don't know what it is, but I just feel I need to do this. It doesn't have to have a reason. Intuition, there's no reasoning. Our heads are the problem and our hearts are the problem. Our heads will reason everything away, you know, so bad. And then our hearts are emotional. But intuition comes with a knowing. You just know. You don't know why. You can't put your finger, you just know. You've got to act on that, because the steps thereafter will come once you've made that decision. No, just like you knew there was something wrong or didn't feel right. Once you've crossed that, then you will know the next one. But we already want to know the 10 steps ahead. If I do this, because I don't have it, I think this is why most of us don't listen to our intuition, because it's not concrete. We humans, we want to control everything by nature. If we don't know what the outcome will be, then we don't want to know. We don't want. I mean, we don't want to make. We don't want to take the steps. Whereas, if at least, yes, I'm being abused. And then you reason, well, if I try harder, if I do this, and then you know there's an outcome, well, then you'll be nicer to me. And listen, at least I've got finances. Oh, and then I've still got a home. So it's all reasoning and emotion. Reasoning and emotion. We've got a plan, and we feel we're in control, even though it's terrible. There's an element of control. But intuition is something is wrong, but I can't tell you the next step. And that's scary. And that's where we have to trust.
And just push through.
You got to push through.
We definitely need to pick this up again and talk about it a bit more. So I will talk to you a bit more in the few coming months, and maybe do something in September or something. But we really need to bring a bit more awareness to this. And I mean, I feel bad for what you've been through.
Thank you.
But it's almost worse to say that through this, other people is going to listen, or there's going to be an example that they can learn from. But, you know, we just preach that if we don't make decisions, and it's a very funny thing, because as women, as mothers, we teach our children that. Try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But as a mom, as the person in control of everything, we never do that. We never take.
No.
We never try. So oftentimes we must just, the same advice we give to our children, we must take it for ourselves. Try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, what lesson could I have learned through this?
Absolutely. And I think on another level, more concrete, to help support that try it if it doesn't work, is that if there are signs, there are red flags, and you have knowledge of them, and you know things are not adding up, and the feeling is something is not right, those are clear signs. You know, it's different. Well, I'm making a decision based on, just because I feel like it. No, it's not even as simple as try it if it doesn't work. It's they're the signs. You know, you are being abused. You're not well. You're ill. You're suffering. You're in confusion. You this, you that, you that. So it's just that we just don't know what will happen if we take the next step of, well, you know. And like you said, I think you said in the beginning, better the devil you know than the one you don't know. It's not a good saying, because it's exactly that. It's the devil that we are dabbling with, and you cannot win with him. You can't beat him at his game.
Exactly. He knows the game too well.
The devil. You don't want to. don't want to, be in relationship with the devil, because you ain't going to win.
Lolita, it was very nice chatting to you. Do you have any parting words before we leave?
Well, I'd just like to say thank you for this opportunity, to be able to let my voice be heard, and that it would be like hopefully, would be like a foghorn for anyone else there, that I may have said something that would have helped to trigger something to even start their journey, and to not take it lightly. Narcissistic abuse is a terrible monster. It is real. It's damaging. And it's a very serious. It's an epidemic. It's a pandemic, just like COVID. I say, it's worse than COVID.
Yeah.
And I hope that this can be a start of starting a domino effect of creating awareness of something that so many people don't know enough about.
Yeah.
And obviously we do not want to just throw that word lightly around, for the sake of genuinely there to create an awareness, to help women empower themselves, and if they need to get out.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think while you were talking, I was like, oh, okay, there's a few people I need to contact. But it does make it a bit clearer, because, like I said, also for you as a support structure, sometimes you need to be aware of what is your things that you need to do. And so maybe we can delve in with that next time, more on the support structure, so that not just the person leaving is prepared, but also the support structure and the words that they are uttering to this person is not more damaging, but like medicine, healing from the inside out.
Yes.
So definitely we need to continue this conversation. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
And thanks for your wisdom, most important. Thanks for your wisdom. I'm sorry that you had to go through 25 years of experience to get the wisdom, but it's wisdom nonetheless. So we would definitely speak to you again. And for those that is going to watch the video, we will, like I said, we will do this again in September. We will just check with the Lolita again. And then we would be on again tomorrow night between 8 and 9. We will talk about issues of women's health. So when you must go get for a pap smear, how you must check your breast, all of these things we'll talk about tomorrow night. So again, thanks,
Awesome.
Lolita. Have a wonderful night.
Thank
and
you.
for everyone else, join us tomorrow night on Facebook Live. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.